Let's get to Sammy's top 5 players left in the NHL playoffs.
So I went to one player per team, and one team obviously gets two. But for me, it's going to be top 5. Number 5 is going to be Shasturkin, the second best goalie left, but the best player on the Rangers, without a doubt, in my opinion. They've had different guys step up at different times, but he's been their rock. Number 4 for me is going to be Leon Dryssidel, which will be one of two Edmonton Oilers on this list, obviously, but he's been playing out of his mind, just a complete and total facilitator for that team, and they're so stacked offensively. It's absolutely crazy. Number 3 is Vasilevsky. He's the best goaltender left in this series and in the playoffs. Obviously, 2-time world champion, great player. Number 2 is going to be McKinnon. Probably, if not for our number 1, would be a guy we'd be talking about having some insanely amazing plays this year in the playoffs and just carrying that team both emotionally, physically, everywhere else. And the number 1, Connor Mcgee, the best player on the team. He's just a beast, man. It's so fun to watch him play. I had a really hard time not putting Maker, I don't know how you pronounce it, on this list because he's the best defensive player, at least on the offensive side. And Steve Stamkos too gets an honorable mention. Those guys have been playing out of their mind. But yeah, that's my top 5.
Go ahead, Aaron.
So Sammy and I have the same players in the top 5. It's not a shocker. I mean, we have 4 teams left in the playoffs. But ours are in a little different of an order here. So I'll go ahead and start. Number 5, Igor Shasturkin has crept in. I don't think if it wasn't for Game 6 and 7, he probably wouldn't have been in there. If we're looking at the best player that's not the goalie in New York, for me, it's a toss-up between Chris Kreider and Mika Zibanejad. And you can even throw Artemi Panarin into the breadman as well. But the way Mika plays and Chris Kreider play, just so under the radar, we don't talk about him enough. But I went with, ultimately I went with Igor Shasturkin because of the performance that he has. But let's not forget, in the beginning of this playoffs, he got pulled twice. So let's not forget that. He got pulled 2 back-to-back games. He got pulled back-to-back games against the Penguins. Number 4 for me actually is Nathan McKinnon. Now, it's hard to put him number 4, but you have to put these guys somewhere. 8 goals, 5 assists, including a nifty little hat trick, maybe the play of the playoffs. But ultimately he fell to number 4 for me. Leon Draisaitl, I think, is a better player than Nathan McKinnon is, and I found him at number 3 right here. Leon Draisaitl does it all. If Connor McDavid didn't exist, or if Leon Draisaitl was on a different team, we might be talking about Leon Draisaitl as the best player in National Hockey League. That's not a goalie. And I know that sounds crazy, but he's incredible, and he gets so overshadowed, and he's on the West. So there's just so many different things that are pulling him down. He's a German guy. He's not a Canadian guy. Like, there's so many things that go against Leon Draisaitl. It's not even funny. But I want to let you know, Leon, there's a guy down here in Vegas who's got your back, who thinks you're pretty damn good. Number 2 for me is the big cat, Andrei Vasilevsky. I mean, he's been doing it for 3 years. Only reason I want to put him number 1. I really do.
I know you do.
I want to put. To me, I had an argument on Twitter about who's more important, a shutdown goalie or someone who can score. And while we both made good points, ultimately I have to go with a guy who can score at will, because it reminds me of the year that the Ducks lost to the Devils when Jean-Sebastien Giguere gave up absolutely little to nothing. But unfortunately, Martin Brodeur gave up nothing. And Jean-Sebastien Giguere won the Conn Smythe Trophy as the loser of a Stanley Cup final. It's insane. But nobody could score for him. Nobody would score. So ultimately, the big cat comes in at number 2 for me. And, of course, Connor McDavid, number 1.
Jesus!
I mean, he's just insane. What he can do with the puck, facilitating. I've seen rumblings. Now, I didn't watch enough of it. I've seen highlights, obviously. So this is easy for me to say, just like it's easy for Mike to say LeBron's the best player of all time versus Michael Jordan, because, the film is so old to him. But Connor McDavid might be better. Now, he might not finish statistically
tell me.
better. He might be better than Wayne Gretzky.
Jesus!
I can't argue that point. I mean, I think the difference in our list, by the way, is Drysdale is 1 spot off. So there's 2 guys in Vegas who think he's pretty good just because you have him 1 spot higher. But Yeah, McDavid is just he's a joy to watch. If you like watching hockey, or if you want to get into watching hockey, he's the guy we should be putting on every poster across the world. He's just amazing, and he's faster than everybody else. He's more sophisticated with his puck movements. Everything he does is just so enjoyable, and he passes the puck so well. For a guy who goes that fast, he's absolutely a pleasure. I love watching him play.
Yes, I am. I am a pleasure.
You can throw that comment up there. Yeah, I said maybe. It's a big maybe. And again, he may not finish statistically better than Wayne Gretzky because it's stupid, the numbers. But, I mean, you have to look at the eras, too. Smaller
Amen.
pads, worse goalies. The best goalie in the era of Wayne Gretzky may have been his own goalie in Grant Fuhr. So, I mean, it's not fair. I mean, you put McDavid up against the big cat, that which might be what we get. And then we'll have to find out for real who the number one player on my list should have been. But again, he's my modern day Gretzky. I love Sid the Kid. I love Alex Ovechkin, but he's my modern day Gretzky. The way he's able to facilitate, he's the Magic Johnson of freaking hockey.
He's my modern day Jesus. How about that?
Yeah, well, I don't want to throw religion into this. We should switch to politics. He's my modern day Ronald Reagan.
No. You guys got to go